Hello, I am Sophie welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a sort of goals video. Not a sort of goals video, it's a goals video. I feel like I haven't done one of these in quite a bit, so I wanted to do another one, especially since we're wrapping up the first quarter of the year. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about what my goals are for the rest of the year, hopefully. Every time I do this, I feel like I jinx myself, but these goals are like stupid easy, so if I don't hit them, I'm gonna be really sad. But there's always room for surprises, you know? Birds are so loud, I'm sorry if you can hear them. This is gonna be reading and writing goals, because I do have some reading goals I want to hit. Reading goals. I have a reading goal, and then I have like a little side goal that will help me get to my main goal. It's like 1.5. And then the rest is writing. Most of this video will be about writing, I assure you. But first, let's start with the reading. So, full transparency, I have been terrible with reading lately, and by lately I mean for the past like year and a half. It's not been great. Like last year, all of 2024, I think I just hit 10 books. I might have not even. I might have read 9, but like around 10 is what I read for the entirety of 2024. Nice. Oh yeah, also, I've got a little friend on my hand. Sorry, that was kind of a jump scare. Yeah, he's there, don't look at him. Also, my nail's broken. It's so ugly. I'm getting it done in a few days, trust. Anyways, I read about 10 books last year, and I want to push myself beyond that. I'd like to read more than 10 books this year, so I have made my goal 15 instead of 10. This should be easy enough, we'll see. Obviously, I don't know, because of 10 last year, and that was a struggle. But also, the year before that, I think, 2023, or 2022, I think it's 2023 though, I read like 40 something books. So I'm like, where did that go? Where did that brain go? So we will see. 15 is my goal. And so far, current update from where we are now, not going great because I have yet to finish a single book this year. I'm currently reading A Little Life, you know, book talk, booktube, bookstagram sensation, A Little Life. I feel like it's like a rite of passage as someone who says that they read and they advertise that they read on social media. I feel like you have to have read this book. And I'm reading it, I promise. I'm about halfway through, but it did take me 7 or 8 months to get halfway through. In fairness, I have read a big chunk of that in the past week or so, you know, we are looking up, but I have been reading that book forever. For literally ever. And I have a couple audiobooks I'm listening to as well. I am listening to Shogun, though. I finished part 1 right at the end of 2024, so that doesn't count for this year. But I am on part 2. This right here, this giant book, that's part 2. And I am currently listening to that right now. I'm a little over halfway in that as well. So there are books in progress. I just have not finished any. But I do have a plan. A slight plan. Starting now, I guess, in a sense, I'm going to be trying to replace all my screen time, all the time I spend on this stupid thing, with reading time. Mostly for me, I think I've seen people on YouTube do it to where like they record their screen time like from settings and they're like, okay, I spent this much time on my phone last week, now I need to spend that much time reading. Not my plan, because then I will just end up being stressed about reading enough while also still being on my phone. Alternatively, my goal is just to catch myself whenever I end up on my phone and switch. And I give myself 2 choices. It's either I get off of my phone and I go read the book instead, or I get off of my phone and I go back to whatever I inevitably should have been doing. Of course, I should go back to what I should have been doing, but if I'm really like, I cannot think about this homework, or I can't think about this lab report or something, and my first instinct is to like go onto TikTok, I'm like, no, let's go read the book instead that you've been meaning to finish for months. Very straightforward, simple. I should be doing this forever, but I don't. So starting now, starting a few days ago, just trying to be more aware of when I'm just sitting and scrolling and turning that into something more productive and hopefully hitting my goal of 15 books this year. Also, I am still just starting this, but let me know if you guys want to see a video about this whole thing where it's like a week of me like really staying on top of it and like showing you guys what it's like. Let me know. I also might bring back reading vlogs too, just to keep me accountable. Very heavy on the might. Small chance. But if you guys are interested in reading vlogs, let me know. I haven't made one in forever because I haven't been great with reading, but you know, if I got the video, I need to read in order to make the video. It kind of works out. But that is it for reading. 15 books and staying off my phone. Yay. Now, let's go on to writing. Part is a little longer in my script, so we might be here for a while, but let me give the short answer first, just in case frequent viewers of my videos just want to click off now and go find something else to watch and not hear me repeat this for the millionth time. Essentially, my goals for the rest of the year are the goals I had set up for the Winter Writers Retreat. The whole thing. The Winter Writers Retreat is going to become the rest of my 2025. Clearly, I was very hopeful during the Winter's Retreat. Arguably too hopeful, but I feel like I didn't really factor in the fact that what I was working on were not zero drafts, particularly Project Glass. Project Glass is in the second draft or the third iteration of this story, so it's going a little slower than a zero draft can, because, you know, zero draft, you just word vomit and there you go. But at a certain point, you gotta slow down and really think about what you're writing, and that's where I am in Project Glass, and I didn't really factor that in, I guess, and just kind of crammed everything together. And Project Glass is like that, Project What is like that, and Project Moss is like that. The 3 projects I wanted to work on in the Winter Retreat. And I just thought I could do it all in 2 months. So that's not happening, obviously. Yeah, the whole zero draft thing, and I'm realizing that the further drafts are going to take a lot longer than the zero drafts, and that I can't assume that I can write a draft 2, a draft 3 in the same time that a draft 0 can be written. So we're stretching out the Winter Retreat goals into the rest of the year. This should be very doable if I stay on top of it and I actually chip away at my stories like every day, every week. Specifically for those 3 projects, I need to finish the draft of Project Glass, draft 2. Then Project What is getting it ready for the 5th draft? 4th draft. Can't remember. What draft am I on? Hold on. It's right here. 4th draft. Jesus. Why would it be the 5th draft? Draft 3. We're good. Get it ready for draft 4. She's so gorgeous. Sometimes I just stare at this and I'm like, wow. If only I could sit down and actually work on this. But, no. And then after Project What, it is Project Moss, the first draft, as in the second time I'm writing it. Oh my god, I'm so excited. That book is so full of drama. It's so full of character, like, conflict. Like, I feel like Project What is more world-focused. There's a big save the world aspect. And Project Moss sort of zooms in on the relationships between the main characters and the relationships that have developed in book 1. And it's not like they're not still fighting against this group that they were fighting in book 1. It's just that that's not the main focus. Now there's more deep into it, and it just, yeah, it gives us the chance to really look at how the connections between the characters and their connections with this group mess with the individual, and I love it. And I love it so much. And I'm very excited to get back into it. It's very convoluted. It's very messy right now. It's gonna need a reread before I even remember half the stuff that happened in the book. But I can't wait to get back into it. Anyways, that is the last thing on my list. So it's gonna be a while until we get there. But for a little current update thing to show you where I am in this line, I am currently almost at the climax / at the climax of Project Glass. The ending of Project Glass is kind of weird in that it doesn't really follow the traditional sort of climax into resolution. It's more of climax into new revelation that brings us very quickly into the end. But it's not like the climax is like, oh, and we're released. We're released from the tension of the story. Like, it's still there. The climax is kind of pushed back a little bit. Usually I feel like when people are like, oh, we're at the climax, it's like you're almost like really close to being done. I feel like there's still a significant chunk of the book still left that needs to be written even after the climax. So take that point. I'm at the climax. with a grain of salt because we're still kind of far out. I'm thinking maybe another 8,000 more words. Oh no. But that's where I'm at. 8,000 more words in what I am projecting to be a 60,000 word draft. Originally I did think it was gonna cap out at like 30 or 40,000 words, and it just kept going. So, you know, I don't know, maybe I won't be done and it'll be at like 95,000 words before I know it. We just have to wait and see. And then in terms of Project What, I have redone Act 1. Act 1 has been re-outlined. It has not been rewritten, but I have a full outline of what Act 1 will turn into. I made a video about that, if you want to go check it out. Act 1 is all this. Act 1 is a very big part of Project What. I feel like usually Act 2 is like the biggest one, and I feel like Act 2 is now the biggest section, but for a while Act 1 was the biggest because there's so much like setup and context and stuff that I wanted to put into Act 1, which is probably a big part of why Act 1 has been such a problem for me constantly. But I think I have streamlined it enough and given it enough character growth. The characters drive it enough now that I think it'll thin out a little bit and make more sense. Act 1's always been a problem. Watch the Act 1 vlog if you want to hear me complain about it. I won't do it anymore here. Makes me mad. But that is where I am for both of those projects right now, and currently I'm really just focusing on finishing Project Glass. You will see why in a moment, but yeah, the main priority right now is finish Project Glass before anything, which leads me into the plans for the rest of the year. So, like I said, I do want to finish Project Glass first. I've been working on it for months now. I think I started it in November or October, and I've been writing it ever since. Yay. For reference, I am so used to drafts taking at max 4-5 months. Like this, I don't remember how long this one took, but the last time I remember fully drafting Project What, it did not take that long. It took 4 months, I think, to do. And I mean, Project Star, I wrote the entire trilogy in 5 months. Like, I'm used to fast drafting. Project Glass is not a fast draft book anymore. It's definitely one that needs to be taken slower, and you need to put more consideration into everything. I'm not used to that, and it's very weird. But we are still working on it. We're gonna get it done. It'll get done when it gets done, and I'm gonna be very happy about it. But I do want to finish this first for a reason I will talk about in a moment, and also because I want to let it sit before I start making edits to it. I don't want to be in like, oh, I'm so tired of this draft, I just want to be done brain when I start editing it, because that's not going to be great. And also, I've been in the Project Glass world for months, since November-ish. I want a break. Love you, Project Glass. Love you, Small Town Vibes. I'm having enough, though. You know, I need a little time out. I need to go back to my sci-fi, you know? But I also needed to sit so I can start edits, because I do want to send this draft out to like a small group of people to get a good idea of like what's working in the story and what's not. But I do already have a small list of things that need to be fixed in the story, and I'd rather fix those before sending it out instead of having people give me feedback and tell me the things I already know. So I do need to patch that up and do a little bit of line editing. I know you probably shouldn't, but there are some parts in there that really suck, and I don't want people to read that. So like small bits of line editing with mostly patching up like big story stuff. And then the second reason why I want to finish Project Glass first is because for Project What, I am going to redraft Act 1 before continuing on with Act 2 and Act 3. It's not a complete rewrite. A lot of stuff is being transferred over and it just needs to be tweaked to fit its new position in the story. But I do want to do that first, just in case something happens in Act 1 that will affect the rest of the story. Like right now, the outline fits in to lead into the rest of the book. There's no major developments that happen in Act 1 that need to be addressed in the rest of the book, but while writing, some revelation might occur that needs to be put into the rest of the book. And I don't want to completely rework Act 2 and Act 3 and then start writing again from Act 1 and realize that half the work I did on the rest of the book was for nothing, because now there's a whole new thing I need to add and weave in, and some of my stuff has been cut and everything. There's another Project What video out there. It's an hour long, and I do a bunch of work on Act 1, again. And at the very end, I have a giant epiphany about the book. I'm very glad I had it. Makes the book a lot better. But I have a giant epiphany about the book right at the end of the video that completely changes what's happening in Act 2. Well, not completely changes what's happening, but completely changes our perception of what's happening in Act 2. So I don't want that to happen again. I doubt it's gonna happen again. The story in this is quite solid, but I am full of surprises, you know? Once again, we just have to wait and see. I do hope that doesn't happen, but just in case, I do want to draft Act 1 and put together all of Act 1 before moving on to Act 2 and Act 3. Once I do move on to Act 2 and Act 3, I do think they will be a lot easier to go through, because Act 1 is definitely the problem child. Act 2 and Act 3, I think, are pretty solid now. Obviously, I can't tell you for sure until I actually sit down and reread everything. But for right now, from what I remember, should not be bad at all. Should be, relative to Act 1, extremely easy. We will see though. I'm a little scared. Then, finally, after draft 4 of Project What is complete, I could finally move on to Project Moss, because Project Moss is the sequel to Project What. I'm sure you guys know that. Like I said in the video where I finished the Project Star trilogy, I'll link to that as well, I've learned that jumping straight into the next book in the series after finishing the previous one is the best way for me to work on a series and not lose my footing. And that doesn't have to be like Project Star, where it's like I finished the zero draft and I start the next zero draft, but more like I had just exited like Project What. I just finished the rewrite and the draft is complete. I can now move on to the second book, Project Moss, because the ending of this story is very concrete in my head, and I can continue to expand on the book without having to constantly look back at this and reference stuff, and I'll forget half the things that happen in the book because my memory sucks. It's just easier. Just easier when you've been in the Project What universe for the past 6 months to jump into book 2 instead of, you know, wait a couple months and then try to work on book 2. So the moment I am done with draft 5, and I'm getting it printed, and it's on the way, we are starting Project Moss. That includes rereading, revision, world building, re-outlining, and then drafting. The whole thing, the whole shebang. It is only in zero draft form right now. It's gonna need a lot of work. Given that it's only draft 1, maybe it won't take as long to write as, say, Project Glass is taking. Because I remember the first draft of Project Glass took me maybe 3 months to write, so it shouldn't be too bad. I don't know, but this is not gonna happen for a very long time. Probably not until the very end of the year, simply because I have to finish Project Glass and I have to finish all of Project What before I can even think about Project Moss. Don't hold your breath on Project Moss content. It's gonna be a while. And then I have a couple stretch goals, very big stretch. They're probably not gonna happen, but I wanted to put them down here. The first is to re-enter the world of Project Star, the trilogy I was just talking about that has all their zero drafts. And by re-enter, I really just mean like start the reread, maybe do some world building, like very basic level stuff, not anything crazy yet, because I do want to work on all 3 books in succession. Again, that's what I want to do with Project Star, is just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the end. So that's gonna be a big commitment. But I do want to just get back in that world because I love Project Star. That world is so fun and I miss those characters right now and I just want to write them. But they have to wait. So if I do end up with the time to do it, I would love to start working on Project Star again. And then my second stretch goal, very, very big stretch goal, is to start thinking about the third book in the Project What trilogy. I don't know if I will yet. I can't remember what draft I was on when I started actually outlining Project Moss. I think it was draft 3. Or like I was working on draft 2.5 to get to draft 3. I kind of need to figure out the basic idea of what's happening in that book because I have no idea yet. So maybe in a fit of inspiration when I am working on Project Moss, or I finish Project Moss, I can figure out what's happening in book 3 as well. But that's another one of the big stretch goals that probably won't happen this year, but we'll carry on into 2026. Disgusting. But anyways, those are my goals for the rest of the year. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I feel like that's the motto of this video, is just we will wait and see. But if there is anything I talked about here that you guys would be interested in seeing a video like specifically about, please let me know. I'm always up for video ideas, so let me know anything and everything. And also, if you've been on the streams, you know about this probably already, but like the winter retreat that I did December and January, I am going to be hosting a summer writers retreat as well. This will be going from like June-ish to August-ish. Nothing super concrete yet, but do look out for more information probably in April or May. It's coming up, but I am hoping to get a good chunk of the goals I just talked about done during the summer retreat. So we will see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. What are your guys' goals for the rest of the year? If you have any, are you just living on a whim? You're like, 2025 will take me where it takes me. Love that. Respect that for you. Wish that could be me. If I don't have goals, I will melt. But if you do have goals, please let me know what they are in the comments, and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.